What's the point? This is a question I spent a lot of my life struggling with. Not struggling, but more that in everything I do, I'd question, what is the point? What's the point of doing this? What's the point of being in this place at this time? I questioned that a lot. When I was younger, I was in therapy and I was told that what I had been going through is like an early existential crisis. But really what that meant for my life was that I didn't see the point in many things that I did, because a lot of it led to the absurdities of life, the unfairness, the injustice, all of those things. It just didn't make sense to me. Even now, I a lot of the time question what is the point when I do things, but in a more constructive way now. I want to have a reason for the things I do, So this video is really about existentialism and how understanding it kind of helped me understand myself. One of the main things in existentialism is existence precedes essence. So that means that you exist before you have an essence, you exist before your purpose. And for a lot of people, this creates the terrifying abundance of freedom. And for me, it did that for a long time. But realistically, what it means is that you exist first and then you decide how to live. And obviously, a lot of people, for a long time, even myself, I believed that I had a purpose beyond what I decided for myself. I believed I had a reason for being here, a way of doing things that was beside how I chose to see it and how I chose to do it. But realistically, I've come to the realization that everything in your life is completely up to you. Obviously, you understand that you can't control the absurdities of life, the things that make life seem without logic and without reason, things in life that aren't rational. But for me, existentialism kind of helped me understand that the things that happen outside of you happen outside of you. There's nothing you can do about them. But it kind of helped me more zone in on what I want to shape my experience as a human being, how I want to experience things, what things I want to experience and why. I think a lot of people, they try and search for meaning outside of themselves, and I've struggled with this for a long time. I was raised in a Muslim household. I've been back and forth with religion and philosophy, psychology, and all. I've had many different beliefs, but the thing that stuck with me is that the concept of God is more important than religion. So for a while, I was convinced that God, a relationship with God, and the things that fall under a godly life are the purpose of life, or at least at the very least, it gave me a way to live that I didn't have to decide for myself, which was honestly a relief, because having to decide everything for yourself, especially with a brain like mine where I'm very overthinking all the time and I'm quite in my head and I'm quite rational, but at the same time the amount of thoughts I have makes it irrational, really I kind of got to a point of realizing that nothing is going to save me. Nowhere, looking anywhere else but within me isn't going to help me live the life that I want. And things like God, religion, any other sort of subculture that kind of gives you a way of life without you deciding for yourself, it's already there in place, kind of takes away that terrifying abundance of choice and freedom. But once you fully accept the weight of the choices that you have in front of you and the options and the way that life is shaped by your experience, once you accept that you have control over your own perceptions of things, even if you feel a way about them, once you understand that you can change your perception of things, not instantly, but once you understand that what you do affects you directly and you can change the way you view things and the way you do things and why you're doing them, I'm essentially saying, once you understand that you can provide the meaning to everything in your life, and you have been doing this, yeah, once you're fully aware of that, you are essentially limitless. Not in the corny, like, movie sense of limitless, like the pill, but like more in the sense that there is no limits on the way you want to think about things. Your happiness, your sadness, your successes, your failures, all of it is in your head. You get to decide. For a long time, I got stuck on this because I always thought, that doesn't make sense. There must be a reason. There must be a reason for this bad thing happening, or there must be a reason. Or like, I was always looking to something else to explain what had happened and why. But I realized that the only reason I was looking for those answers in the first place is because I felt a way about it within myself. I either felt positively or negatively about it, or I thought positively or negatively about it, but those things I can change. So getting stuck in this endless loop of taking your feelings as evidence and then trying to rationalize them through the what is the point of life and why does this have to happen to me, like personalizing it as well was a big thing, because a lot of the absurdities of life that happen to you and just happen in general have nothing to do with you. The only thing that matters is your reaction to it and the way you perceive it. So really, within this video, I'm just trying to get more clear on the fact that I can provide the meaning that I've been looking for within my life. And I want to make that abundantly clear to myself that that terrifying abundance of freedom doesn't have to be so terrifying. You don't have to overthink every little choice. Today is the only thing that matters. Right now is the only thing I can control. Yesterday is dead, tomorrow is not born. But right now, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm existing. This is the only place existence is taking place right now. Right in this time, this is the only place I exist. So if you accept that idea, then realistically, what you can kind of decide for yourself is the point of life is you. You are the point of life. Your whole experience, the way you decide to shape it, the way you decide to do things, the way you decide to think about things and people and your successes and your failures, all of that is you. And obviously there are things you can't control, but the one thing you'll always have control over is your reaction and your mind and your perception and your perspective. And those things are changeable, adaptable. Like in the last video, I talked about the concept of being a dynamic person. And this is one of the things that I've kind of had to learn to live with over time, and that no matter how well you may seem to be doing, the same things can come up over and over and over again. And if you don't control your perspective on them and your perception and your action after that, and you just let it affect you the same way it's always affected you in terms of it being negative, then you are letting that happen. You are allowing that to happen to yourself. But that isn't what you want for yourself. You don't want to feel that way. You don't want to feel like there's no point to anything. So aside from looking outside of yourself for the reasons for things, and like the why, look within yourself and decide who you are going to be. Because the who and who you are makes the biggest difference in why everything happens. Because who you are shapes what happens. If you're a person that is a pessimist, thinks negatively about the world and things and people, then you are deciding for yourself, you are labeling yourself as that, and the only way you are going to think about things is pessimistically. If you're an optimist, you will do the opposite. You'll think about things optimistically. But both of those pathways are a complete choice. Everything you do is a choice. You don't have to decide to be affected by certain things. Emotion is not fact, it's not evidence. It's just a feeling. And honestly, the point to life for me is just that deciding what my own essence is. So going back to the point of existence precedes essence, I exist. I'm past the point of asking what's the point. It's what do I want the point to be? What do I want the point to be in my life? What do I want to assign meaning to? Because ultimately, a lot of people believe this, that the world is meaningless. However, your perception, your actions, the things you take interest in, all of that decides the meaning for you. You know, you get to decide that. It's all your choice, what things mean to you, you know, because it's meaning to you. It's like love, for example. You decide and assign meaning to a person and actions and feelings, but it doesn't necessarily inherently have meaning. It's more that you've chosen to place it there, you've chosen to put effort in keeping that meaning there, you know, and I don't see why anything should be any different. You get to decide what means things to you. And honestly, for a long time I struggled with that, because it is kind of like, how can I explain this? It's kind of like if you don't trust yourself, if you don't have confidence, if you have low self-esteem, you will be looking for things outside of yourself to find answers, because you don't believe the answers that you can provide within are valid, because you don't see yourself as valid, you don't give yourself any credit. But until you start seeing the things you're doing as valid, good or bad, as long as they are your choice and they are what you want for yourself, that is the meaning of life. You don't need to adhere to anything, any other system, any other thing that tells you this is what life means and this is how you should live it. You don't need that. You know what to do. I know what to do. I'm talking to myself here. I know what to do. I'm just afraid sometimes that if I follow my instincts all the time, that I could be led astray by myself. And it's easier to be led astray by something else and put the blame on that than it is to yourself. But the benefit of deciding things for yourself and seeing if they work out and seeing if it works for you, and like assigning meaning to things and then them losing meaning and then you assign meaning again, the benefit of that is that you start to hone in on what is truly meaningful to you. You stop caring less about what is meaningful to other people, what people say has meaning. You stop considering that, because they're not in your shoes, they're not in your mind. You are the only existence that should matter in terms of the way you think about your life and the things that happen to you. You need to control what you give meaning to. And I'm saying this in the tense of you and talking as if I'm not speaking to myself, but I am. This is all for me to look back upon and reflect upon, because I don't want to forget the fact that it's hard assigning meaning to things when you feel like there is no meaning, you feel like you might not be right. But you only know right or wrong after the fact. You can't know before. You can try, but you can never truly know until it's done. And that's what you can't be afraid of. You can't be afraid of the terrifying abundance of choice, because at the end of the day, you are the only person that can make choices for your life. And if you're afraid of all the choices you have, you will never pick one. You will be paralyzed and you will be stuck, and you'll be looking for answers without yourself. You'll be looking for, oh, what do I choose? Like, let me look this up. Let me look to the Bible. Let me look to social media. Let me look to my peers for how to assign the meaning in your life. But if you're not assigning it for yourself, those things eventually will reveal themselves to be meaningless. Because meaning to you and meaning to your mother or your father or a sibling or a friend, each individual person is going to have things that mean completely different things to them. It could be the same stuff, but all the meaning is different because you assign it yourself. So really with this video, I just want to remember that the point of life is you. The point of life is you. Regardless of what you do, you are the point of life. You don't need anything else outside of yourself to want to continue, to want to keep going, to want to enjoy things. You don't need anything other than you, because regardless of the people around you, if you are thinking in a negative space in your head, you will perceive life as negative. If you are thinking optimistically, which I know is hard, and you're thinking towards better things for yourself rather than being stuck in the same loops and the same negative cycles and the same negative patterns in which you think, then you will be stuck in them. You are defining it for yourself. You are deciding who you want to be in each moment, and never ever forget that, because if you do, you are going to allow other people to decide that for you. A man who has not conquered his mind is a man conquered by the world. I'm not sure if you might not have read that on the screen already, but it's the top quote here. So really what I mean by that is conquer yourself, but more give yourself the courage to decide what life means to you. And don't let anyone else decide that for you. Don't let anything else decide that for you. You get to decide why you're feeling the way you're feeling, if that feeling's valid, if you should do anything about it. It's all a bunch of ifs. Do what is right for you. And if you think it's right at the time and it ends up not being right for you in the end, don't blame yourself. Don't go back to, oh, what's the point? I just always fail. I always come back to this feeling, blah, blah, blah. Why are you thinking that way? Why? The event has nothing to do with you. How do you want to view that? If you want to view something going wrong in your life as a personal failure, and that you're always going to be making these failures because of who you are, then you'll stay as that person who makes failures because of who you are. But if you believe that at each time something goes wrong, it's actually for the best, and it's actually leading you to somewhere that you can't even see yet, if you can just find it in you to pull that strength of trust within yourself and within the path your life is going to take, you will find freedom. Because regardless of the abundance of choices you have, you will know what choice you want to make, or what choices you want to make. And no one's saying that life has to be sunshine and rainbows all the time just because you think it's that way. You're allowed to feel however you want to feel. But what you let it do to you, what you let it say about who you are is the most important thing. If something negative happens, feel that negativity, feel that emotion, but do not for a second think that you can't change that, or you are not above that, or you don't deserve more than that. Because once you start believing limiting things about yourself, you are limited. Even if the limitations aren't real, as long as you believe it, you are limited. As long as you believe that you can change and you have no limits, and that when things come up, you can assign whether or not they mean anything to you, you can decide what you give energy to, that is how you win. Because, and I'm not saying the point of life is winning, but I just mean in the small mental battles that you need to have with yourself all the time, that's how you win. Because you know that regardless of whether I view it as good or bad, or I feel it as good or bad, what is happening is necessary because I've decided it so. Don't allow yourself to think that things are just happening to you because the world's out to get you. You're assigning that meaning. You're assigning the meaning that the world is negative inherently and that the world is out for you. But it's not. Decide for yourself what the meaning is. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but you don't have to be so profound about it. But at the very least, decide what it isn't. Decide what you're not going to allow yourself to indulge in. And what I mean by that is, don't allow yourself to indulge in a destructive mindset. Allow destructive things to happen. Allow negative things to happen. But don't indulge in the idea that it's happening on purpose, or it's happening personally to you, or it's the end of the world, or there's nothing you can do about it, or things of that nature. Don't allow yourself to believe that, because once you believe that, it will keep happening. Believe that you can decide what your life means at any given moment. Believe that wholeheartedly, and you will be fine, and you will understand that the point of life is whatever you want to make it out to be. That's all.